Hello, all you amazing, intuitive, empathic, and highly sensitive people. So, today's topic is all about trauma, how it sits in the body, and how it can affect you for years to come. So, there are certain things that I think are helpful to know so you can help actually release the trauma or at least resolve it. So, stay tuned to hear more. This is Anastasia. I used to be a physics professor specializing in vibrational and quantum physics. After recovering from a serious illness using energy healing on myself, the calling to heal became so strong that I had to quit my 40-year research career. I replaced my six-figure professor salary within 5 months using a simple but not easy 3-step system that I worked out to grow my healing practice. Now I help other healers grow their practices, whether they're just starting or already have a practice, with this same 3-step system. I'm all about helping you too. Listen in to learn more. Thank you so much for coming back. So as I mentioned, today's topic is all about trauma. So what trauma is a disruption in the spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical body that can happen abruptly. And it can be from a car accident or, falling down and hurting yourself, breaking a bone. That's physical trauma, for example. You can also have emotional trauma when you've been abused or verbally and or physically. So that's emotional trauma. Mental trauma could be from unrelenting stress, right? So there are various kinds of trauma that you can suffer from. One result of trauma is reliving it, as in PTSD, where you are in the present, but there's like a bungee cord or an elastic cord that keeps pulling you back to that moment, reliving it, trying to resolve it at that time instead of resolving it in the present. So the trauma keeps reliving itself in your body, and it causes the stress reaction and it tears your body down. So the stress reaction means that you are in the sympathetic nervous system or sympathetic state where your adrenal glands continually release the stress hormones like adrenaline or cortisol, and that wreaks havoc on your body. It does not allow you to heal. So it keeps pulling you back into that situation and you keep reliving it over and over again. So there are lots of things to do energetically that really help relieve that trauma. So I'm going to talk about the trauma that happens in relationships first. So that's like the unrelenting verbal and emotional abuse that you may have experienced in relationships, and what that looks like depends. Like when I was young, I used to get yelled at a lot. I did not get complimented, right? I used to get yelled at a lot. And the yelling was all about, you'll never be happy. Your behavior is going to make you an unhappy adult. You'll never reach your goals. You'll never be satisfied. So there were always those kinds of words. And the other one that I heard a lot is, you should know better. I was the oldest of 4, so I got blamed for everything. You should know better. So there's lots of things that can happen to you, and then what happens is if those aren't resolved and those aren't released, then you carry them forward into other relationships. So then you keep creating relationships that creates the same situation, right? So I ended up with my first husband. I ended up with somebody who would yell at me and blame me for stuff and act like I didn't know any better, even though I'm a really smart person, right? That I didn't know any better, and that he would teach me the right way, which was his way, right? Which fork to use, for example. And it's like, really? So we ate European at home, and he would tell me, no, you're supposed to use your fork in your right hand. So I said, so every time I cut a piece of meat, I have to drop my knife, put the fork into my right hand, and then put that in my mouth. Doesn't make any sense. So anyway, that kind of unrelenting criticism and abuse leads to an emotional trauma that is really hard to release. And what it does energetically is that it creates a dark energy on your body wherever it is. For example, if it's a partnership, you'll have a dark energy in your partnership organs, the lungs, the adrenal glands, the ovaries, and even the uterus, because the uterus is fed by the sacral chakra or sacral energy portal, and the uterus has to do a lot with relationship, right? So, and for men, it would be their sexual organs as well. So, the issues, well, what would happen is that these areas aren't fed properly. So for me, I ended up on, it's anything that's paired. So lungs, kidneys, adrenal glands, ovaries, they're all paired, right? So in those areas that are, that have to do with relationship, and for me it was the uterus and the adrenal glands that suffered the most because I was stressed out all the time. And I've seen this happen over and over in healing thousands and thousands of people, is that the adrenal glands is one of the first places that suffer because of the stress of the ongoing stress of being in trauma. So the first thing that I do, and what happens is those organs and those portals shut down and the organs get dark. They're not being fed properly. So it's not like they go black, it's like they go dark. And what that means is, imagine you've got a light dimmer on a light bulb, right? So you turn that dimmer down and you have all the other bright lights in the room, and that dimmer just shows it as it's gone dark. And then when you turn all the other lights off, then it looks bright to you, right? So it's not like the light has gone off, it's just that it's gone dim. And in order for whatever organ or body part is being affected, you want that to be lit up again. So that's the first step to healing trauma, emotional. And physical trauma is likewise, like for someone that's been raped or beaten, all the areas that got bruised or hurt, wherever it is, physical and emotional, wherever that is happening, those areas have gone dark. So the other thing so I'm just going to talk about the solutions in a second. The other thing that happens is that the spirit does not like being in a body that's being abused, which is another thing that happens in PTSD, is that it's like you slip up out of your body and your brain is no longer engaged in the same way. You're on a plane of existence, but you're not in a plane of enjoying life and living, right? So what happens is that the spirit slips up out of the body and it tends to be less engaged with the body. And that's another thing that causes illness, especially in the lower half of the body. So the first thing that has to happen is that the spirit needs to be reintegrated into the body and all the dark areas lit up. So one way to bring the spirit back, and so I'm just going to run you through a little exercise that's very helpful. So I'm standing here and I've got my shoulders pulled back, right? Pulling back your shoulders opens up your heart, right? It opens up. So if you're hunched over, you're hiding your front. And when you pull your shoulders back, you help your body get into a relaxed, calm, parasympathetic state where the adrenal glands are no longer secreting a lot of the stress hormones. So when you get into that relaxed state, it helps heal, and it also helps bring your spirit back down. So let's just take a couple of nice deep breaths. And as you take a deep breath, just imagine your air going all the way down into your body, all the way down into your fingers and toes. So let's take another deep breath. And breathe in. Push out your lower abdomen when you breathe in. That helps bring the air across your heart. It doesn't stop at the diaphragm. It helps bring it down. The whole action brings your energy down deep into your body. And every time you do that, just imagine all of that energy going into your fingers and toes. Whenever I do that, if my feet are cold, they warm up almost immediately, because cold feet are just indicating that your blood vessels have constricted. There's little muscles all around every blood vessel, and they've constricted, and it keeps your feet cold. It's just like if you dip your feet into cold water, they all constrict and your feet are cold, but of course the tissues also shrink from all that liquid. But when I do this, like I just have sandals on, even though it's still a little bit winter and a little bit cool here. So when you bring that air in, it helps relax everything. So you're moving into the parasympathetic or healing state. And you imagine when you do this, you also imagine light coming in and occupying every little bit of your body, because you're lighting back the darkness, right? There's the dark areas. You're taking that dimmer. Sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. You take that dimmer and you turn that dimmer up, so your whole body relights up with all that healthy healing energy. So let's do that again. Take a nice deep breath. And just imagine your spirit getting all the way down into your fingers and toes. And as you do that, you bring the light energy from above, all that healing energy. It enters you and it illuminates your whole body. And as you do that, you'll start to feel better almost immediately. Right? I start all of my classes this way, and it helps you become more receptive to higher healing energy. It helps you release the old stress and trauma. And there are lots of healings for trauma. I'll talk a lot more about them in the next couple of broadcasts, but this is the first step, is bring yourself back into your body and light up all the dark areas that have been affected by the spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical trauma you may have experienced during a traumatic event, right? So I hope that was helpful today. So practice taking your deep breaths, keeping your spine straight to help the energy flow up and down, and bring yourself back into your body so you may fully experience life again. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for taking valuable time out of your day to listen in. If you found this message helpful, please help spread the word by giving the broadcast a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on. For further training on healing and growing your healing business using my 3-step system, go to www.highpaidhealers.com. And I'll see you in the next video.